Okay. Meeting's in order. Would you like to take attendance?
Of course. Commissioner Atwater is absent. Commissioner Barquette.
Here.
Commissioner Duffrey is also absent. Commissioner Sawyer is also absent. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Vice Chairman Griffin.
Here.
Chairman Trezza.
Here.
You do have 4 commissioners present. It does constitute a quorum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Kirk, you want to do the Employee Service Awards?
Sure. We have 5 Employee Service Recognition Awards. Unfortunately, 3 cannot be here because they're police officers. So I'll go through those first, and then we'll get the other 2. The first is Zai Yang, Port Police Officer, hired on January 14th, 2019, into his current position. Years of service is 5. Robert Sanguinetti, years of service 10, Port Police and Port Sport Technician 2, hired February 10th, 2014 as a temporary PST, then hired full-time as PST 1 on August 16th, 2024, promoted to his current position as Police Support Technician 2 on February 5th of 22. And the third is Tyler Mua, Port Police Officer, hired January 24th, 1999 into his current position, 25 years of service. So the 2 that are here, Dale Matson, I did see Dale earlier, I think. 10 years of service. Maintenance electrician, working foreman, hired February 10th, 2024 as an electrician and promoted to his current position on September 12th, 2022. So I'll read the next one and then we'll do the pictures, if that's okay. Kyle?
He's there.
Okay. Kyle is 30 years, sorry about that, 30 years of service. It just seems like 25. He is a maritime account supervisor, hired on March 28th, 94 as a clerk messenger trainee, promoted to clerk messenger on October 24th, 1994, promoted to admin service clerk on January 1st, 1996, promoted to admin service clerk 2 on January 1st, 1997, transferred to benefits technician on April 1st, 1998, and then transferred to ops clerk 3 on October 16th, 2000, promoted to ops clerk 4 on April 1st, 2001, and then senior operations clerk on April 1st, 2003, and his current position, which again is maritime account supervisor, promoted on April 1st, 2005. So 30 years for Kyle. So, and Dale, you want to come? We'll do a picture, and then Kyle will do a quick picture. Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Okay. Consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that need to be considered separately? Commissioners?
No, I'm not gonna, nothing to be considered separately, but I do want to just make one quick comment on E, which, because E is the one for more time for Dylan and Murphy and the other ones. Just wanted to say again, how I want that little sheet for us to be tracking with all the projects, because I don't know why we're prioritizing these projects, and you gotta sift through everything to find out exactly what it is. And I know after I got through it all, I'm like, okay, I get it. Obviously I have no objections to it. But it's just,
Yeah, no, we've updated the CIP, and we do have that sheet. It will be coming to you when I do my quarterly.
Okay.
So it's going to be after the fact, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll have that as a reference. Good.
Yeah, we are going internally, just so you know, we're going through those internally and trying to prioritize, and Paul has made some significant changes to the capital improvement projects for the year, and we've drawn it down to a manageable number. So,
Right, because that's why I say, it's like, I wasn't even on the budget committee this year, but whoever was, we approve a ton of ones, and then they just come to us kind of randomly, and it's like, hey, why are we doing this instead of, something else? And so,
yeah, we have that figured out internally, just hasn't made it to your eyes yet, so my apologies on that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If there's no public comment, we'll take a motion.
Well, ask for public comments.
Oh, is there any public comment? If
No,
not,
none online either.
we'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moved. Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners on any of the agenda items? No?
Skip 2.
Skip that?
Yeah, keep going.
All right.
Flip the page.
Sorry about that.
Now we're on to agenda item 6.
Okay, item 6 listed on the agenda. Consideration and possible approval of the updates, changes to the Stockton Port District Policy Statement and adoption of the new Stockton Port District Commission Governance Policy. Any questions from the commissioners?
I don't have any, I don't know if we were supposed, so it was me, you, and Margaret on that,
We have 2 agenda items today, where 3 of the 4 commissioners were on the ad hoc.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
shouldn't be super tricky,
yeah,
but
so I don't know if anybody has, you have anything you want to share about it, or?
No, we did a lot of amendments and
Yeah.
updates.
Just to update us in getting us up to current time.
So for the policy statement, it was a few updates and adding some policies that the Fair Political Practices Commission says is a good idea to have in there. So that's what was added to that. And then the governance policy is completely new. That's supposed to help the commission function if there's issues with not everybody getting along. So that's the kind of thought behind the governance policy, which the ad hoc went through with Steve as well to make sure that,
And I want to make sure, I'll paraphrase what I think happened, and you guys can chime in. There was something in there that said to the effect that if there's a split vote, okay, that once the vote is taken, that we all have to get in line with what the majority
I see.
said.
Right.
And I think there was a general consensus that, yes, you should support but you're free to have the opinion that you had before.
course,
If you were
yeah.
against a project or something,
Right.
it doesn't mean you have to go around saying, I changed my mind. Is
Right.
that
and we
fair
took
to
that
say?
out.
We thought that
Yeah.
stifled everybody's personal, opinion, and we may not all agree on
Sure,
everything. You don't wanna go around undermining the port.
Right, yeah.
But you are
Sure.
entitled to your opinion if you didn't agree.
Gotcha.
So we basically removed it and said, please act professionally.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of
It's
it.
a matter of acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any comments from the public?
We do have public comments that I'll have to read.
Thank you, Melanie.
They're from Mary Elizabeth, and I will read,
Rather use this.
which have been distributed to the commissioners as well.
Yeah.
Who is Mary Elizabeth?
She's a member of the community that's with the Mother Delta Sierra Club. So she has, I'm going to start reading. I will not get through all of them. So, agenda item 6, the board shall assure that the district cooperates in the maritime and other industrial development planning and activities of the city within the district in San Joaquin County. The city of Stockton has assigned committee members to a port district 3x3, similar to what it has with the Stockton Unified School District. To my knowledge, no such meeting has been held between port commissioners and city council members in a noticed open meeting. To have good cooperation and planning meetings are important components. Other than when making a city appointment to the port commission, I have not noticed any briefing provided to city council. Additionally, please clarify what other cities are within the district. The board shall make every reasonable effort to keep the public thoroughly informed of district operations. We have requested in CEQA comment letters that regulatory reports submitted to responsible and trustee agencies and staff fugitive dust monitoring results be posted on the district website. Implementing a district-approved strategy for attracting or retaining tenants and businesses to the district, which will typically involve at least one staff member and commissioners as well, and expenses incurred in the solicitation and enticement of commerce beneficial to the district. Please provide the amount of expenses that have been incurred for the solicitation and enticement of commerce beneficial to the district. Additionally, in efforts to improve transparency, a Port District goal, please provide these reports of expenses incurred quarterly posted to an agenda item. Financial interest in real property within the sphere of influence of the Stockton Port District or within 2 miles of any property owned or used by the Stockton Port District. See FPPC Form 700 Schedule B instructions. Please clarify the extent of the sphere of influence of the Stockton Port District. Consider changing the or to ands. Individuals holding designated positions shall file their statements of economic interest with the port, which will make any statements available for public inspection and reproduction. All statements will be retained by the port. Employees and office holders at all state and local government agencies, as well as candidates for public office, are required to file statements of economic interest, Form 700, to disclose their personal financial interest. Once filed, the form is a public document and must be made available to the public on request. The forms alert the public officials about their own economic interests and potential areas of conflict in relation to their duties and provide information to members of the public who may monitor official actions for any conflict. These statements seem somewhat in conflict as one suggests that a member of the public could walk into the Port District office and view the conflict of interest statements, while the other indicated that the documents would be available upon request. If the Port Commission desired that only the minimum availability be granted, then say so. That only upon request will these public documents be made available for public inspection and reproduction. However, a better transparent method would be to have the required public records posted to the website. That is 3 minutes. That is all the public comments I have for that.
So can I ask? Do we respond to this? Like,
No, we do not have to respond to it, correct?
You don't have to respond to
You have a question on?
one, I mean,
it. You can.
does anyone respond to it?
There is no legal obligation to respond to public comments that you receive. However, if you have questions or want to raise something that was raised in that, certainly.
Where are we on?
Discretion as a commission.
Okay.
Say anything that's listed as in policy, we do follow, whether it's
No, we need a
realized by the
Yeah.
committee member or not. We do.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
You just look at the first one. You're the chairman of the.
Yeah, we have a
community.
we have a port liaison meeting about every quarter or so where everybody's invited.
Okay,
City council people, the public,
County supervisors.
supervisors.
And it's public
No,
posted, right?
we're gonna have one, next Monday, right, at 10 o'clock. So the port, I feel, Counselor would agree with me, that port is very transparent.
That's correct.
Okay, we heard our public comment. Is there a motion?
Another just clarification, and even though only so much was read, these will be registered somewhere, right? 'Cause there might be
Received, they'll be
long-
part of the record.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, do we have a motion?
what do we motion?
To approve the changes to the policy statement and accepting the governance.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll make a
Motion,
motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
So long ago, we forgot what it was.
Yeah, kinda forgot where we're at.
Okay. Okay. Item 7, consideration and possible authorization for the acceptance and publication into policy of the Port of Stockton's mission, vision, and core value statements. Kirk, you want to discuss it, or?
Yes, so again, the ad hoc is pretty much here, but this is the first step in the strategic plan that we're looking at.
Gotcha.
And this is the easiest step in mission, vision, core values. So we went through this internally quite a bit, and then we went through the ad hoc. There were a few comments from a couple commissioners. We incorporated those, so there are some small modifications to the core values. And other than that, there were no other changes. So the intent is to make these public, put them in policy, and then we'll start with a SWOT analysis for the organization, which we'll kind of go through the same process. We've started that internally. We'll look at that SWOT analysis and then get it to the ad hoc and then put it out to the commission. And then we'll start the meat of the strategic plan. So,
Any commission questions?
Well, so this will be made public, you said?
mission, vision, core values? Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then transparency, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent.
Any public comments or questions? If not, we'll take a motion.
Motion to move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're wearing you guys out on motions. Item 8 is stated on the agenda. Consideration and possible adoption of a resolution authorizing the port director to accept the PIPD DP 2022 grant number 693 JFK 2344037 award. Authorization for the port director to amend the fiscal year 2024-25 budget and appropriate funds in the amount of $12,035,597 for the rail rehabilitation upgrade project. Kirk, Jeff, you want to make some comments?
So, Jeff, just one thing I noticed, that the requested action on the memo, the grant number and on the agenda are different. So,
I think that's what you sent us out, right?
Should we enter that in the minutes?
we can fix it after the fact, but it's it's one letter off.
Oh,
Oh, there's no K.
Oh.
Okay. Well, amend it.
Okay.
Well, I've read through it. It seems like these are issues that need to be done, for the rail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
should the minutes note that?
What's that?
Should the minutes note that?
Well, put the correct award number
Right.
or
Yeah.
grant number in there when they do it.
Okay, sorry, Jeff.
Dan, I should note too, that the budget that needs to be amended is the 23-24 budget, not the 24-25. Just to give you a little bit of background, the port's been busy, on the grant side. This is a MARAD, Department of Maritime Administration Port Infrastructure Development Program grant. I think as most are aware, we have a serious need to make improvements on our rail infrastructure. The needs being that the port projects significant rail volume increases. We anticipate handling longer, more frequent trains, including single commodity unit trains. The need has been identified to upgrade the majority of our infrastructure to accommodate these additional tonnages and train frequencies. So this project focuses on upgrading critical lead track, vital for port's connection to national rail network spanning 2.5 miles across the entire facility. So when we submitted the grant, the total project cost was $12 million. We got a grant award amount of $9.6 million, with the match at that time being 2.4. The objectives of this grant are to upgrading approximately 13,400 track feet, taking out the 112-pound per yard rail with new 136-pound yard rail. Make the welds continuous on all the curves, improve the drainage along the tracks, realign the compound curve rail, regrade some areas, install wood ties on curves versus concrete ties, test all tangent tracks for deficiencies, and evaluate the opportunity to rely port lead track to soften tighter curves. Additionally, to replace or upgrade approximately 30 turnout connecting customer spur tracks to the lead track. You can see here that's the extent of the rail hardening project with the diamonds or white dots from the way it looks here with new and upgraded turnouts. So staff recommendation, we did get the award. The consideration and possible adoption of a resolution authorizing the port director to accept the PIDP grant number. All of that. And authorize for the port director to amend fiscal year 23-24 budget and appropriate funds in the amount of $12 million and change for the rail rehab and upgrade project. Any questions? Good job.
Good job.
I have one question. Is the number still good? The 12 million to get it done?
No, we don't think the number is good. I mean,
Okay.
costs have gone up so much on a lot of projects. Just for instance, on the larger rail project we're doing. And
So what is the number? Do
we think, I don't think we've gotten any bids yet, Juan. They're estimating, our engineer's estimate, I think is around 18. But, yeah, so the costs have gone up a lot.
Yeah. So why are we just putting $2 more million in? Why are we even doing that?
This is only for the acceptance of the
The grant.
of the grant.
award,
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a requirement to get the 9 million.
Yes, yes. So once the bid's received, then we'll update the budget to reflect the.
Is there any ability to upgrade the grant, or is that
That's what I
done?
was gonna ask.
Well, we can't upgrade this grant. Once it's been awarded, it's been awarded. There are opportunities to go after other funds. We could potentially look at Chrissy or other opportunities for additional funding, which we're doing in another instance, but it depends if it works with the timing. Right now, I think it would push this project out quite a bit, probably at least another year and a half if we were to go after additional grant funding. But I think when we go out to bid, we can kind of come back and we'll put it before you and we can make that determination at that time.
Okay, and we're replacing 13,500 feet of rail?
Correct.
Do we get to sell the scrap iron?
I don't know if, that's
It's
been
a lot of weight.
considered or not.
Well, it's a lot of money there.
Yeah, you can reuse it too, it's secondhand rail, reuse it on the rest of the board.
Be aware of that.
I'm getting really good feedback back here from some interested parties in the audience.
My family's in the scrap business. That's worth a lot of money.
I'm sure we'll look at every opportunity possible.
Hey, it's a lot of weight.
We have not applied for Chrissy yet, but it's something we're discussing.
There's a lot of money in Chrissy right now, like actually almost like $2 billion in Chrissy.
It's a real grant opportunity.
Good.
That's what Chrissy is?
Any other commission questions?
When are you putting it out to bid?
November.
Okay.
And that's because it's not fully designed yet, or is that?
Yeah, they're still finalizing the design.
That's what's taking the time.
Yeah.
And did we already appropriate the money for the design? That's already paid for, or is that part? No. Right, I know, but are we, but we already obviously approved
Yeah,
that,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's being done.
Yeah, this is just purely construction.
Yeah.
No other questions? Any public comment? If not, we'll take a motion to approve.
And it's just to accept the grant, right?
This is just accept the grant, yeah.
Acceptance.
Yeah, as
With the
far as,
correct grant
Fiscal
number
year.
and the correct fiscal year as well.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, thank you. Oh, commissioners, how many individual reports?
You want committee reports, is that correct?
Committee reports.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
read too fast.
I mean, we were on those two committees, and we actually took action on items, so no, but I think, appreciate everybody and staff working on everything around the mission statement and the vision, and you guys put most of that forward, we just reacted to it, so I thought everybody did a good job, same with the policy stuff, you guys brought forward everything, and so.
And the strategic plan ad hoc will continue on, so you're not off the
Well,
hook.
I'm
Not off the hook yet. No,
Yeah.
that wasn't, you're not done.
But no, I appreciate the staff's time and also everybody else who was on the committee.
I bypassed you too. You have any comments for us?
I have a couple, since we have our rail guys here. Randy. So Randy's retiring after 45 years as the general manager of CCTC. CCTC is the short line railroad in the port. co-owned by the BN and the UP. So his last day will be the end of this month. 45 years in the railroad industry, primarily with the UP and the CCTC. He joined in 2016. From 2016 to 23, the annual rail car throughput has increased by 58%. We realized a record year in 2023 with 51,000 rail cars. His partnership has been critical in supporting our record growth throughout his leadership, and really just want to thank him for all of his time and his energy. We also have his replacement, Ramiro Barba. Yeah. He joined the first of the month, correct? And he was previously the president and executive port director at the Port of Texas City. Okay. Randy, you want to say anything or put you on the spot?
I just wanted to take a quick second, and I want to thank everybody for the partnership we've had, especially over the last 8 years while I've been here. As Kirk said, we have had a tremendous growth and progress in the rail, and we expect it to keep growing, and we're trying to help plan and be a partner in this. And it has been great to work with all you guys. I'd like to say everybody's name, but I don't want to forget somebody, so I'll just leave it at that. And I want you to know that I believe Romero will take it to the new heights, and he understands exactly where we all want to go, and we're really happy and hopeful this partnership continues. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay, now, commission comments.
Oh,
Is that the port directors? Those were your comments?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have anything
Okay.
additional.
I just wanted to ask,
Yep.
it seems like things are down pretty considerably.
Maritime volume?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
What's
dipped a
going
little
on?
bit.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it. Some can be due to timing.
Okay.
That'll be my quarterlies as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cyclical, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're also we're kind of looking at baseline the last couple of years with record years. So we're dipping back down to traditional levels.
But would you say that's seasonal, or this looks like it's gonna be, because it's like 20-30%, right, off? Does that look like you think it's gonna be? For the-
I mean, month over month, I think we're up, but year over year, yeah, we're gonna be down. I don't know and Jason or Sean, if you have any, but yeah, we're gonna be down next year. We don't anticipate that maritime volumes are gonna rebound. Again, it's commodity driven. It's not seasonal. It's annual, I would say. We do have some opportunities we're chasing, but a lot of it has to do with, we saw the increases in the volumes that were in containers before. That's all pulled back. Container prices are back down again. So a lot of that volume that we saw during the supply chain crisis, that's gone back into containers, and we're not seeing that coming back, so. But the commercial guys are pushing, so. Okay, anything else?
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, I'll comment. Lately, we've been getting some sugar ships, and that's kind of a relatively new commodity that we've been getting. We've had 2 ships here recently.
Which was that, Steve? I missed that.
They come in big, huge bags and they're discharged.
Sugar.
Oh, sugar,
Sugar,
okay.
yeah.
Super sacks.
And then we've had some steel ships that went pretty smoothly for steel and beams. Do you anticipate more steel coming?
I don't know, Sean or Jason, do you guys anticipate more steel? Or are you seeing that on the near horizon, or just pretty steady what we've been getting?
Coils will be steady, but pipe beams, still generally the market is down on the West Coast. It's not just Stockton that supports inbound steel primarily from Asia is down across the U.S. West Coast.
Yeah, we're seeing an uptick in liquid. The other thing we don't really see is we've seen an uptick on non-maritime volumes that can be pipeline or rail or just truck to truck. So we're seeing a bump in that, but from just purely stuff coming through the channel, we have seen a decrease. Again, some of that could be timing, some of our coal exports, and even some of our inbound. But fertilizer should stay pretty consistent.
Right.
I think that's about it, right?
Yeah.
And then they closed the dock down in Pittsburgh, right? That's still dock that was taking coils?
USDS.
Yeah. So are we getting those coils?
That's something we're working. That's a big. We've been talking about that for
Okay.
about 2 years now. So
Yeah.
it's
That'd be
something
nice
we're
to
working on.
Okay.
There's a lot of moving parts to that.
Gotcha. I always figure that. Yeah.
Is that a permanent closure?
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
a permanent closure.
Yeah, U.S. Steel was out of there, and they shut down they moved Korean steel, I think, coils, yeah.
Cool. That's it for me.
No comments, no.
Margaret?
No comments.
None from me.
Hold on, before we, there were comments for agenda item 8 that I missed to read. That are from Mary Elizabeth. So can I read them into? I don't think it'll,
We're gonna hate me.
just redo the vote.
I think we should reconsider 8,
Okay,
but I think we can have an abbreviated reconsideration to hear her comments and then revote.
okay.
So you need a motion and a second to reconsider item number 8 for purposes of hearing public comments.
Okay, we need a motion
I
and
motion.
second to reconsider item number 8 due to public comments.
Receive public comments. You
To
need a
receive
motion and a second to reconsider.
Right.
Go first.
I have a quick question on that, though. When I look at her comments, was she commenting on the correct thing? It was all we did was to do a resolution. We didn't do talking about a final EA and the finding.
Marad,
Yeah, what's she talking about?
this is part of the agenda.
You see that, Jeff? Have you seen the comments?
No.
I don't think that's related to what we
Jeff.
did. At least not related to number 8.
It is not.
We just did a resolution.
But whether or not you think the comment is relevant, she labeled it as being to item 8. You can hear the comment and decide it's irrelevant for 8, but the fact that she labeled it as 8.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, whatever.
Considered
It's
as
a-
part of that
yeah.
in order to
Sure.
meet the niceties.
I'll make a motion to,
You second it?
All in favor? Aye. Would you like to read that public
Yes,
comment?
sorry. So, for Mary Elizabeth, Marad published the draft EA for a 30-day public comment period in late summer 2023. The final EA and the finding of non-significant impact were finalized on October 6, 2023. This draft environmental assessment should have been posted on the port's environmental webpage and notices issued by email to all interested parties signed up for notification on the port's listserv rather than just some Federal Register notice. And those are the comments.
And now you're incorporating your previous discussion of 8 before the reconsideration, and you can consider those comments, and then you need to revote.
On
item number 8.
which
Right.
is accepting the grant for the, I make a motion to accept the grant.
I will second that motion, sir.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion moved.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor.
Sorry to make you go through that.
No, that's okay. That's what you're here for.
Okay.
Now we're on to public comments on non-agenda items.
Can I ask, so the public comments, do we just see them here? You didn't send them out before, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, so do we just see them here for the first time?
Sometimes it depends on what I have going on and how soon I get them before, but yeah.
And then, so does she email, or do they email the comments to, is there like a suggestion email? that-
The comments go to me,
Okay,
yeah, there,
Sometimes, if it's early enough, we get them in the
ahead of time.
packet.
right, yeah. I'm just curious, okay.
Are there any public comments on non-agenda items?
Yes. From Mary Elizabeth. Community outreach has not been positive regarding the Bayotech reissued mitigation negative declaration public meeting on April 9, 2024. The public meeting that was recorded was primarily members of the public providing verbal comments with limited port response. I stayed after the recorded meeting as members of the public were invited to do so to get some answers to my questions. Port staff allowed Bayotech staff to demand that a paper which was in the submittal documents to the port, on which I had taken notes regarding the infrastructure, be returned. I have very serious concerns regarding the PGE gas transmission infrastructure, in which approximately 1.6% of all the methane used in San Joaquin County will be conveyed. No description of the previous use of the property where the existing infrastructure is located was provided, nor has the port made available an infrastructure assessment for the East Complex. Bayotech representatives stated that the document which I had written notes on was submitted to the city and was not made available to the public. Instead of staff checking on what was submitted for CEQA compliance, they allowed biotech to demand the paper I had written notes on. Flustered, I complied and now am without the answers that I stayed for to obtain. Additionally, following the 4/9/2024 meeting was a 4/10/2024 meeting with biotech about potential community benefits, during which we were informed that the port had a community benefit program and that the port planned on making a community benefit program part of enforceable leases. This is in contrast to what we were informed regarding the proposed TC NoCal $200,000, which the project proponent pledged in a public meeting. Please provide the government's proposed for this Port of Stockton Community Benefit Program and a description of how the community will be involved. Finally, many residents and community-based organizations have been monitoring and engaging with the GSNR wood pellet export project. You were all notified December 2023 by members of the public and community-based organizations about a proposed agreement referenced in GSNR agenda materials. Recently, I put in a public information request for the proposed agreement and referenced the GSNR agenda materials with a web address. Excuse me. I received a response that no such document exists. The port staff had publicly stated that the reimbursement agreement with GSNR has not been signed, so I was surprised when I received a response that no such document existed. I submitted another port request specifically for the unsigned agreement referenced by GSNR and am awaiting a response. While I understand that some level of specificity is needed, the response to the request received represents an undue stumbling block to the conveyance of public information. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth.
I don't want to inject myself too much into your meeting, but if I may, can I briefly respond to those?
Yeah.
There's really 3 points. The first one is that the California Environmental Quality Act, which is a law that requires us to do EIRs and negative declarations and the like, there is no obligation for a public meeting. There's an obligation to have a written public comment period for both a negative declaration and EIR, but public meetings are optional. So with respect to the first paragraph, this sort of goes into the no good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
Status, in my opinion. As to the second point, to the best of my knowledge, your port policies, which you just adopted, do not have a community benefit program, so I'm not quite sure what she is speaking of with respect to that. Whether you should have one or not is a policy discussion that this board ought to conduct at some point, I guess, if they want to. As to the third point, draft agreements that are unexecuted are considered to be draft agreements. Draft documents of a public agency are not subject to the Public Records Act and are not available to the public because they are drafts. They're drafts.
Yeah.
So the answer that there was not a public document available is a true and correct answer, inasmuch as the unexecuted agreement was in draft form.
I think she's saying in number 2 that she's saying that the port said they were going to have a community benefit program, and that one does not exist.
Well, I'm not sure who's authorized to say that there should be one or could be one. Ultimately, that's a decision of you folks.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of you said that to.
And that was based on a different project than she's talking about. So she's talking about Biotech, and then she references Trammell Crow. They're 2 different projects completely, so.
In various project proponents can certainly indicate to the public, well, we're going to do all these other extra things. But that doesn't make it a public benefit program that is a policy of this port. And certainly, individual projects can offer to do things for the community if they want to, if they think that's going to enhance the possibility of their lease getting approved by them. Developers do that all the time. But that doesn't mean that there's an official program that's a policy here.
I think it was semantics, right? She heard one thing from them and thought, I think she's using that term as if it was a set-up program.
But you have not adopted, to the best of my knowledge, a policy.
Jeff, will you shed some light on this?
Yeah, there is not an established program, right. It's all a voluntary, opportunity for developers. One of the things we wanted to do was try to meet with the community to understand, projects that they would be interested in. Should folks who want to develop at the port come in and say, hey, we would like to do things for the community. So that's what she's referencing. But nothing's been established yet.
Was your assessment the same as hers, that the meeting did not go well, or what was your take on that?
I was not here when, at the end of it, when this incident happened. I did hear about it, but I'm not clear on all the
There
details
was
of it.
quite a bit of community support.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
all community support. There was only one negative comment.
On the
but
Bayonet deal?
Yeah. There's quite a bit of community support. There was obviously this negative, but again, what happened at the end,
Yeah. The room was full with folks who are here to support the project and the jobs and construction of the project.
Yeah.
and then they had a following meeting, a meeting the following night that we didn't attend.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you for your clarification. In accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act, an executive session will be conducted pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. So,
Going into closed session.
In 1845, when Charles Weber acquired a 49,000-acre parcel from his luckless business partner in exchange for paying off his grocery bill, he couldn't have anticipated what awaited him 3 years later.
During the gold rush, Argonauts could come to Stockton en route to what were known as the southern mines. But the principal artery for transportation and the fastest way to travel was via water.
There was no Stockton in those early days. There was Charles Weber's tent town on the San Joaquin River that served as a jumping-off point for the gold fields.
He realized that the San Joaquin River was going to be the principal aid in developing his city, and Charles Weber was able to attract enough business people to establish hotels and restaurants and freight companies, and they would cater to the wants and needs of the miners. Those who did not make their fortune, in many instances, had been farmers in their previous lives. And coming back into Stockton or Sacramento, took a look around the Central Valley and realized there was great agricultural potential.
We're in San Joaquin County. This is the most productive agricultural area really in the world. You grow corn, wheat, almonds, walnuts, fruit, a whole host of different commodities feeding the world. You couldn't have the unique agricultural environment we have without the river. That is what allowed this state to turn from a gold mining state, if you will, to a food state.
California's Central Valley is blessed with the best soil there is. Back then, the problem was less about growing the food than it was getting it to market. Without a statewide railroad system or even decent roads, Stockton was in a strategic position to be a hub, connecting the valley by river to San Francisco.
From gold rush days, riverboats carried passengers and cargo on a daily basis between Stockton, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
With the Central Pacific Railroad's completion of a branch line in 1869, connecting Stockton with the Transcontinental Railroad, the city's vision as a trade and transportation hub began to materialize, except for one critical issue.
There were rather tortuous waterways leading from San Francisco to Stockton, weaving and turning through the islands. And because of hydraulic mining, there was a lot of sedimentation of these river areas, and so it was becoming rather shallow.
In addition, ships were getting larger with deeper drafts, leaving the river's shallow depth a barrier to ocean-going vessels. If the region was going to grow with the times, it had to tame the twisting passage through the delta. Even though no single individual gets credit for proposing a dredged shipping channel, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barton Stone Alexander who drew up the plan in 1870 that showed it was feasible.
They kind of choked at the projected $8 million price tag of such a ship canal. And so it continued to be a festering problem for the city of Stockton, being cut off from that ocean-going transportation.
Other countries hungered for California products, not just grains, nuts, and cotton, but manufactured goods too. The opportunity for trade was undeniable.
When a product moves and how it moves is all dependent on where the destination is. The ship behind me is actually loading rice that's going to Japan. Rice would not be able to get to Japan if it didn't use port facilities, because it doesn't make economic sense to ship the kind of tonnage that one ship can hold in another way, like say maybe in an aircraft.
Stockton's residents remained convinced their future lay in a navigable ship channel. So in 1925, they passed a $3 million bond toward its construction. The state and feds later added more funds that finally set the project in motion. Work began in 1930. Dredges began removing millions of cubic yards of river bottom. Clamshell dredges piled the mud and rock to make levees that formed the new channel, opening acres of delta islands for farmland. Despite the Great Depression and Hitler's rise in Germany, in Stockton, church bells rang and automobile horns blared. It was 1933, and more than 1,000 people celebrated the arrival of the Daisy Gray, the first deep draft vessel to arrive at Stockton's new port using the new channel. It was the start of a new era.
The local responsibility was to develop the facilities. So they developed the docks, the warehousing, the rail connection, many of which we're actually still using today. In my opinion, rail facilities are just as important to the success of a port as a dock.
Central California Traction Company has been in business for more than 100 years. We are a small railroad that basically does all the railroad switching on the Port of Stockton, and we're going all day long. We get rail cars from two major railroads, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and we get those cars, separate them all out, take them to the customers, let them unload them or load them, and then take them back and give them to those Class I railroads. The port is a busy place, and they've got ships coming in, they've got trucks coming in, and if we didn't have the railroad here, you wouldn't be able to get enough trucks in over the road infrastructure that they have.
When the United States mobilized to fight in World War II, Stockton's port facility became an integral part of the war effort. The United States Army took over the Port of Stockton, and it became the largest vehicle and parts consignment center in the entire United States. The harbor overflowed with 10,000 workers, loading merchant vessels and assembling as many as 125 ships for the war effort, from tugs to minesweepers.
In 1944, the United States Navy took over what was known as Rough and Ready Island and turned it into a naval complex. And the Navy held on to this area up until the year 2000, when Rough and Ready Island and all of its developments were turned over to the Port of Stockton.
Rough and Ready Island tripled the size of the port overnight.
It added warehousing and open land that the Port of Stockton never had before. The acquisition really helped us to be able to provide additional space for tenants to develop their own projects.
Yara North America chose this location for its central location in the valley. We were able to lease a piece of the land here and build this facility and move our operation from another location that was less profitable and less convenient, so to speak. Keeps us competitive, keeps our costs down, and keeps us profitable, which is really what we're all about.
The presence of global companies reflects the port's role in world commerce. Cargo crossing the docks has grown 176% in less than 10 years, making the Port of Stockton the fourth busiest port in California.
I've seen the port get extremely busy. I was working when there would be maybe one ship every 2-3 weeks. Now we have 2-3 ships every day coming in. It's just booming.
While the port is responsive to world markets and international trade trends, it's also tied to the local community with a responsibility to its neighbors.
Today, the port supports more than 10,000 jobs, what I like to call family wage jobs, to become a major part of the economic foundation of Stockton and the greater San Joaquin County area. The port actually makes a major contribution through tax revenues that go into every facet of every service that's provided by the city of Stockton or San Joaquin County.
The port absolutely is part of the community. The waterway is not just only our ship channel. It is part of the Delta, it is part of the Pacific Flyway, it is a recreation area, it is a fishery. One of the latest commitments the port has made is we have joined the Green Marine program. It looks at how ports and how maritime operations are being handled to reduce your impacts on the environment. At Antioch Dunes National Wildlife Refuge, we are working to restore the habitat for 3 species by placing sand material that comes out of our dredging each year. It's been an extremely successful project. The owls were here when we took over Rough and Ready. You know, the rodents like to burrow holes in our levees, and we use the owls, the Air Force, if you want to call them, to come in and reduce the rodent population. This wonderful group, Puentes, came to us, and they wanted to develop a community garden. And we thought it was a wonderful idea.
We belong to a church in Sacramento, and a lot of the people are elderly and are really in need. So we thought once we start harvesting, we'll go and bless people so that way the people that can't get out, they'll have their fresh veggies delivered right to them. The power of one little seed to help people live more sustainable lives. Yeah, that's our goal.
It could be asked, what's a maritime port got to do with community gardening, or saving endangered species, or running a tiny service railroad, or any of a host of novel undertakings? It's being innovative, it's being responsive, it's being unique. But then, a bustling port 75 miles inland from the coast is unique. That's the Port of Stockton, cast in a different mold from its start as a gold rush depot upriver, doing what's needed to meet the challenges of its times, the responsibilities as a community leader, and embracing the prospects for a bright future.
Back in 2006, we started building and installing barn owl nest boxes to enhance the barn owl population here at the port.
We put cameras in the boxes, put the images up on our website. I think we had 40,000 hits on our website just on the owls in 1 month last year.
The public went absolutely crazy for it. We would post regular updates on the port's Facebook page, and we got many, many, many responses, lots of interested viewers. Absolutely beautiful animals. They've got a big white disc of their face that actually helps channel light and sound. So when they're out hunting at night, they are able to locate their prey. The islands here are all surrounded by levees. To maintain the integrity of those levees, it's pretty important that you keep rodents from burrowing and digging holes. These owls can eat up to 3,000 rodents in a single breeding season. So they're quite an effective method of rodent control. To our knowledge, we have increased the population quite a bit. This particular box behind me last year housed 7 owlets. They all survived to fledging, which is somewhat rare. A typical brood is more in the neighborhood of 4 or 5, but we have 16 of these boxes at the port, and so you do the math, there's a significant number of owlets being reared. I guess it's like the Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come, because they were here in short order, and this particular box has been in use every year since 2006.
The point of the OwlBox program is to reduce pesticide use, protect our levees, and in the meantime, now we've got a great project we can also share with the public that creates interaction.
The port wants to do everything they can to enhance the environment and support local wildlife.
In 1845, when Charles Weber acquired a 49,000-acre parcel from his luckless business partner in exchange for paying off his grocery bill, he couldn't have anticipated what awaited him 3 years later.
During the gold rush, Argonauts could come to Stockton en route to what were known as the southern mines. But the principal artery for transportation And the fastest way to travel was via water.
There was no Stockton in those early days. There was Charles Weber's tent town on the San Joaquin River that served as a jumping-off point for the gold fields.
He realized that the San Joaquin River was going to be the principal aid in developing his city, and Charles Weber was able to attract enough business people to establish hotels and restaurants and freight companies, and they would cater to the wants and needs of the miners. Those who did not make their fortune, in many instances, had been farmers in their previous lives. And coming back into Stockton or Sacramento, took a look around the Central Valley and realized there was great agricultural potential.
We're in San Joaquin County. This is the most productive agricultural area really in the world. You grow corn, wheat, almonds, walnuts, fruit, a whole host of different commodities feeding the world. You couldn't have the unique agricultural environment we have without the river. That is what allowed this state to turn from a gold mining state, if you will, to a food state.
California's Central Valley is blessed with the best soil there is. Back then, the problem was less about growing the food than it was getting it to market. Without a statewide railroad system or even decent roads, Stockton was in a strategic position to be a hub, connecting the valley by river to San Francisco.
From gold rush days, riverboats carried passengers and cargo on a daily basis between Stockton, Sacramento, and San Francisco.
With the Central Pacific Railroad's completion of a branch line in 1869, connecting Stockton with the Transcontinental Railroad, the city's vision as a trade and transportation hub began to materialize, except for one critical issue.
There were rather tortuous waterways leading from San Francisco to Stockton, weaving and turning through the islands. And because of hydraulic mining, there was a lot of sedimentation of these river areas, and so it was becoming rather shallow.
In addition, ships were getting larger with deeper drafts, leaving the river's shallow depth a barrier to ocean-going vessels. If the region was going to grow with the times, it had to tame the twisting passage through the delta. Even though no single individual gets credit for proposing a dredged shipping channel, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barton Stone Alexander who drew up the plan in 1870 that showed it was feasible.
They kind of choked at the projected $8 million price tag of such a ship canal. And so it continued to be a festering problem for the city of Stockton, being cut off from that ocean-going transportation.
Other countries hungered for California products, not just grains, nuts, and cotton, but manufactured goods too. The opportunity for trade was undeniable.
When a product moves and how it moves is all dependent on where the destination is. The ship behind me is actually loading rice that's going to Japan. Rice would not be able to get to Japan if it didn't use port facilities, because it doesn't make economic sense to ship the kind of tonnage that one ship can hold in another way, like say maybe in an aircraft.
Stockton's residents remained convinced their future lay in a navigable ship channel. So in 1925, they passed a $3 million bond toward its construction. The state and feds later added more funds that finally set the project in motion. Work began in 1930. Dredges began removing millions of cubic yards of river bottom. Clamshell dredges piled the mud and rock to make levees that formed the new channel, opening acres of delta islands for farmland. Despite the Great Depression and Hitler's rise in Germany, in Stockton, church bells rang and automobile horns blared. It was 1933, and more than 1,000 people celebrated the arrival of the Daisy Gray, the first deep-draft vessel to arrive at Stockton's new port using the new channel. It was the start of a new era.
The local responsibility was to develop the facilities. So they developed the docks, the warehousing, the rail connection, many of which we're actually still using today. In my opinion, rail facilities are just as important to the success of a port as a dock.
Central California Traction Company has been in business for more than 100 years. We are a small railroad that basically does all the railroad switching on the Port of Stockton, and we're going all day long. We get rail cars from two major railroads, Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and we get those cars separated.
So, motion to go to bid for building 350.
You guys ready?
Okay.
We got to turn the thing back on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the next step would go to bid for building for the renovations.
That would be the second part of the motion.
Or, yeah.
Okay. The Port Commission took no formal reportable action during the closed session. Now, agenda item 14 is stated on the agenda. Consideration of possible approval of the next steps for a 315 Fife Avenue, for 315 Fife Avenue. This discussion only. Any questions, or is there any commissioners have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but we'll make the motion now.
Well, we still got to ask for public comments, but
Even though they were like.
there's no.
If there are no house questions, are there any public comments on agenda item 14?
I have none.
All right. No comments. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 14, which is, in essence, enables the port management to go out to bid for building 315 renovations?
I think what we should do is, the motion should be to authorize staff to proceed with an RFP,
RFP?
right?
Oh, before you go to,
RFP required?
I mean,
Invitation
Yeah,
for bid,
invitation, yeah.
okay. For 315?
Fife Avenue.
I think you're giving them authority to proceed.
that's what I thought I said.
Not exactly.
Make the motion as Steve is.
It was close.
Do we have a motion on what our council?
yeah, but it's not an RFP, though.
No, but it's
not
a, yeah,
Invitation for bid.
Invitation to bid, gotcha.
That's correct.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
I motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Beautiful. Good job, Bill.